How would you like to bet right alongside your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for the next 40 days for under $5 per day? Well, we have you covered. A 30-day all-access pass is priced at $2.99, but for a limited time, not only are we discounting the price by $100, but adding on 10 more days of picks for free. So outside of the $100 discount, we are tossing in a free 3-day all-access, a $39 value, and a free 7-day all-access, a $99 value for a combined savings of $238. So to recap, for the next 40 days, you will get all plays across all sports from your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper played during your access, including 5% best bets for under $5 per day. Have an existing all-access pass? No worries, as your 40 days will not begin until your current package expires.
Tea time from Vegas. Another week, another event. This week, the Wells Fargo Championship. I'm Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com. With me, as always, my co-host Andy Lang, here to talk another PGA Tour event. Andy, how are you, my friend? Looks like you are on a great heater right now in all sports, and you had a great golf week last week. How you doing, buddy?
It's a good feeling when we're in this industry. I know you know it well. When you get on a good run, it just feels great and you're seeing things well. I know you had that huge soccer run. And so, yeah, we're feeling great in all sports, coming off a really, really good read. I even said last week on the show, I felt I had an amazing read on the tournament. And I feel the same way this week after going through all the numbers and everything. So I don't expect a perfect week like we had last week, but I expect a good one. I'm very interested in your take on this course because I felt like I had a good read on the course last week. But this one, I couldn't find as much information, little confused on things. So I'm interested on your take, but this should be another good one. Got a little bit better field this week. We got Rory going this week. Mm-hmm. So should be another good, profitable week of golf.
Yes, congratulations to John Rahm for winning the Corn Ferry Tour event last week. And we move on to an actual PGA Tour event this week. Before we get into break it down, as always, let's talk a little business. We do have a promo code for you guys this week, Wells20. Takes $20 off the package for the week for either Andy or myself. So you get all 4 days of coverage, includes outright leaderboard. Andy usually has his daily fantasy matchups, as well as, of course, tournament matchups and any leaderboard bets we have. So normally priced at $39, get it for just $19. Promo code Wells20. Head over to WagerTalk.com to check that out. All right, quick recap, Andy. Last week, best bets and worst bets is always a fun conversation to have. So what was your best and what was your worst from last week in Mexico? I guess you didn't have any worst.
It's a beautiful week when you don't have one for the worst bet. I'm always going to be excited when I win the play of the week, which is either a 4 or 5% play. And that was Sebastian Munoz top 40. He was well within inside the top 40 until we got to the 16th and 17th holes on Sunday, and he promptly hits one into the water and drains a 28-foot putt to save bogey. Wow. And then he birdies 18. So he ended up well within inside top 40, but there were the 16th and 17th gave us a scare. And then since I don't have a worst bet, Nick, I was going to tell you, we talked about that minus 300 bet with John Rahm being the 10. Do you lay that kind of juice? Well, let me tell you, the power of shopping around. The minus 300 bet I found for minus 210 on FanDuel.
Okay.
So we saved 90 cents on, and talk about a no sweat. John Rahm wins. There was one funny moment when Steven Yeager, who was in it, I was looking on Saturday and I could not find where he was. And then I noticed he went -7 on Saturday for a low round. He eagled 2 holes in a row by holing out from the fairway and off the green. But he got within 5 shots. That was as close as it gets. So once again, laying the juice has been a common theme this year. It worked again last week. So I don't really have any though for this week. We're going to be dealing with much safer odds this week.
Yeah, that was a wire-to-wire, no-stress win for you. And my strategy of do not bet John Rahm last week did not pay off very well. Although I guess I didn't lose any money not betting him. I just didn't win anything because I didn't fade him. I didn't think he played poorly by any means, as we talked about. But don't worry, I have you rounded out evenly this week because I'm all on the worst bet column because I didn't hit an outright. I didn't take John Rahm. My one leaderboard bet, which was Russell Knox to finish, I broke it up into top 10 and top 20. That didn't cash, and I had one matchup. So sometimes on my strategy, when you're doing outrights, I usually do three or four outrights. So obviously, it's either one of them's going to win or it's not. One leaderboard bet, and then one matchup was kind of how I tackled last week. None of them won. So I did give out the free play in the show last week, which was Cameron Champ over Carlos Ortiz. That was a no sweat winner, but I did not release that as a package play. So hopefully viewers listening to that one grab that because that was Cameron Champ was up near the top in the top 5 pretty much all week as well. So that was a pretty stress-free bet. But otherwise, they were all the worst bets for me. But that'll happen when you're betting outright. So hopefully we can get back in and find one this week, as we always do. Let's start off looking at this week with the top 10 in total strokes gained over the last 6 months coming in. Basically the who's hot coming into this event. Last week, John Rahm was number 1 on that list. Of course, he went wire to wire for that win. That makes it now 11 of 17 tournaments so far in 2022, Andy, that have had the winner inside this graphic. So again, I always like to start here because it has proven to be a good place to start when choosing outrights. The world ranking is the number you're seeing on these guys on the left-hand side of their name. So, of course, we got Rory McIlroy, number 7 in the world, leading the way as the favorite this week. A little bit better price than John Rahm at 4-1 last week. This week you can get Rory around 8-1. And then you have Henley, Fitzpatrick, who I really like. Connors has been playing fantastic. Seamus Power, Hatton, Cam Young, Sepp Straka, who's been actually playing very well. He didn't just fall off after that out-of-nowhere win. Kuchar, of all people, who we haven't talked about in a long time, and Sergio rounds out the top 10. So a decent list here, at least much better than last week. And these are the guys that are playing the best coming in. Andy, let's break down the event, the course, as much as we can here for the viewers. I always like to start off with you. What do you know? I know you said you wanted to talk about the course a little bit back and forth with me, which is great. What else? What do you want to talk about with the course, and what else can you tell the viewers about the field itself?
We're dealing with a par 70. Looks to be about 7,100 yards. I got a couple long par 5s, and they have played this course, but not for a while. And my personal style of handicapping, I really don't care how someone played this course in 2017. Let's just say a lot has happened in the world since then. So I don't really take course history into account hardly at all. Not with the handicapping it. What I don't know is I don't really know much about the fairways, the terrain, or much of the greens. I know approaches are going to be, again, really, really important because I believe the greens are just a little bit smaller. And it's not an easy course. I don't expect the winner to be more than -10, -12. It looks like it's going to rain tonight, which should dampen the course a little bit. I know as of yesterday, they were expecting big thunderstorms on Friday, but it looks like the weather report has changed and now it may be scattered. So it looked like Friday was going to be a real problem with weather. Looks like the weather's kind of moving out a little bit. So we may get some rain on Friday. It should dampen it. So don't expect a lot of runoff. But other than that, I'm just not as familiar with this course as I am with some of the others.
Yeah, it's you make a good point on the course history. I mean, the old saying, "The horse for the course play," is true when you're playing a tournament on the same course, for the last 20 years. Augusta obviously is one where you can look at guys that go every year. But an event like this where it has moved between between venues. And try to date back, 2 years. I mean, they played it. It was 2016 and 2017, or 2017 and 2018.
17 and 18, and then 2013. So.
Yeah, I mean, this course did host an event for nearly 20 straight years back in the 90s, and I guess 85 or something, and 87. I don't know, somewhere around there to 2006. So then at that point, you can look at a little bit of course history. But then since then, it was basically a rotated course for 2 years. For the Quicken Loans National. And it doesn't mean really squat for this type of an event because it's been a few years and the guys aren't playing it regularly, and it's not one that I think it matters too much. If you do want to take a look at that history, it is the Quicken Loans National was the event 2017, 2018. So make sure not to I'll at least say this. Don't look at last year's Wells Fargo Championship results or any of the last couple of years and just say, oh, they did well at this tournament, they're going to do well again, because it is a different venue. That's all we can really say about the horse for the course play this year. Rory is the defending champion. Again, I guess it doesn't really mean anything other than he won the title and maybe the name means something to him, but you kind of hit the nail on the head as far as really the course, who's going to win here is it's not long. So it's going to be, if you don't need to hit it long off the tee, but if you're accurate, really with your, last week I was looking at guys that are mid to long iron players. Here I'd be looking at guys that are closer with your mid to shorter irons, especially you mentioned those 2 par 5s. Neither are really gettable. You got one at 640 yards. I don't know many people that are going to even get close to that or even try to get to that one. 590 yards is the second one. So maybe on the days where they set the tees a little shorter, you'll have some of the longer hitters can certainly get there, but most guys are going to be playing that, both of those as 3-shot holes. So it's your wedge game. And because overall the course length is a little bit shorter, you're going to be hitting more shorter irons, mid to shorter irons in here. So you kind of probably want to look at that for data as far as iron play goes. But it is a track that's not a lot of history, and it's going to be, keeping it in play off the tee, hit the fairways, and then get yourself good positions to get those greens. You're right about the number. I mean, it has proven in the years that it has been played here that it's not easy. It's a par 70. There's just not a lot of scoring opportunities. Par 70, the 2 par 5s are not easy birdies, and it looks like the par 3s are going to be pretty difficult as well. So I'm going to shoot for guys that are playing well with their mid irons, and of course, anybody that's playing well and rolling the flat stick always matters. The one, I guess, nuance that you have here is sometimes when you get to an event or a course that a lot of the field doesn't have a big history with, putting can be negated as far as advantages go because there's no, when I go to a place that I've played a lot and I know the greens very well, I'm going to putt pretty well there. When I go to a place that I haven't played that much and don't know them very well, my advantage of knowing the greens goes away. So I bring that up because guys that are notoriously bad at putting might actually be, I don't want to say level on the field with the rest of everybody else, but might not be as bad this week just because they have the advantage of not being behind the 8 ball, if you will, on knowing the greens as well. So maybe don't put too much stress on the bad putters this week. So let's get into some of our plays for the week. Andy, I'll start first. This is a guy I've been on several weeks so far this season. He has not won yet on the PGA Tour, but it is coming. It will come, and I believe it's going to be sooner rather than later. And that's Matthew Fitzpatrick. He's off a rare miscut at the RBC Heritage in his last start, but he had finished inside the top 14 in 6 of his previous 7 stroke play events. So he's in the mix. He just hasn't proven that he can get over the hump on the PGA Tour, but he's won internationally on the European Tour several times. He ranks 5th in strokes gained, tee to green, 3rd in total strokes gained, and owns the 7th best scoring average on tour this year. So the numbers are there. As this is expected to be a higher scoring event, pars will be at a premium, and scrambling will likely play a factor. Fitzpatrick ranks number 7 in that category. His only knock is that he's shorter. He's a shorter hitter. He ranks 134th on distance off the tee at 295, but I don't think distance, because of the shorter course, is going to be a huge factor this week. It's more going to be getting it in play and setting yourself up for that second shot. So I think he's got the advantage with that. So the rest of his game has been too solid to ignore. So right now, Matthew Fitzpatrick, you can get him at 21-1 plus 2,100 at FanDuel. I think he's going to be in the mix come Sunday. And really, when you're playing outrights, that's all you can hope for is you got a chance on Sunday. Andy, let's go to you next. Your segment that we always start with, players you're avoiding this week. Who are you not going to be betting on going into this tournament?
Well, first off, you talked about Matthew Fitzpatrick coming off a miscut. I mean, it's the RBC Heritage a week after the Masters where he finished 14th, where some of these guys, just go play, week after the major. I don't put too much into it. So I'll mention Matthew Fitzpatrick later in DraftKings. But, yeah, let's go with players that can trip you up. Last week was kind of tough because, I wanted to pick some bigger name guys, and they did good. So I wasn't very good. Cameron Champ, I said, could trip you up. That was bad. Fine, I'll finish second. Chris Kirk, I nailed. But I'm going to start with the big dog this week, Rory McIlroy. That players that could trip you up. I am not a big fan of these, huge favorites. Now, Rory's nowhere near what Rahm was last week, but to go over Rory, this year, and this is kind of what he's been doing the last few years, where he just gets off to these terrible starts and then plays great in round 4 when it doesn't totally matter. So I'm going to go through this. So round 1 scoring, he's tied for 81st. He's tied with Siwoo Kim, K.H. Lee, Ryan Palmer, Andrew Putnam, Alex Smalley for round 1 scoring. Then round 2, he's 164th. So it's almost like he's sneaking into these cuts on average. And then round 4, he's 5th best on tour this season. So in 2022, he's played in 6 fourth rounds. He shot 66 at the CJ Cup, 70 at the Hero World Challenge, 68 at the Genesis, 76 at the Arnold Palmer. Then he shot 66 in the 4th round at the Players. He went out early and he got the best conditions, and he shot 66 and he only finished 33rd. So that great 4th round didn't even do much. And then the insane 64 at Augusta, including the round 4, ridiculous hole out on 18. But the bottom line is he's minus 0.08 putting the last 3 months. I don't trust him. This round 1 and round 2 scoring is ridiculous. Maybe we have a watered down field where he can overcome it, but Rory McIlroy is not a guy I'm going to trust this week. This next guy, I think some of these stats are going to surprise people. Abraham Ancer, who's become a really popular player in, betting and head-to-head matchups and daily fantasy in the last year or so. He's not been good in standard PGA tournaments in 2022. So I'm kind of getting into the match play. Ancer's best finish is 33rd in 2022. He finished 42nd last week. That was a bad field. And he missed the cut the previous 2 tournaments. The last 3 months, he's minus 0.87 strokes gained around the green and 0.31 tee to green, which you had talked about being accurate off the tee and being able to get it to the green. Minus 0.31 tee to green is pretty bad. And this is a guy that is around the 3rd or 4th best priced favorite this week. So Abraham Ancer is a fade for me this week. I think he's by far the most overrated player. And then finally, I'm going to close out with Webb Simpson. This might be a little bit of a stretch, but the field isn't great. He's a big name. So guys, I think bettors may kind of go, oh, no, Webb Simpson, I know him. He's been bad this year. His best finish is 35th. He's 135th in greens in regulation, 101st in putting. He's the 18th highest priced golfer to win this week, but he's outside the top 75 in this field in strokes gained in the last 3 months. So I will not be on Rory McIlroy, Abraham Ancer, or Webb Simpson this week.
I agree with 2 out of 3.
I know which 2 they are.
Now, for me, Rory, you're 100% right. And I'll get to him in a little bit because I have a preview on him coming up here later. But the one thing I'll say is maybe that's a good strategy for Rory and, sneaking into a leaderboard. Maybe I'm previewing something here. A leaderboard bet on Rory, get out early while nobody cares. Nobody's watching you. The conditions are better. And you sneak into a top 20, top 10, or a solo second at the Masters, right? What's funny is we've talked about how notoriously, I don't want to say bad, but how much he's choked in the final round too. Like in the fall, he had several chances to win. He did win in October, but then he had a couple other chances after that on in Dubai, and he choked 2 weeks in a row, or 2 out of 3 events. I forget exactly. And, it's like when he's in contention right there on Sunday, you don't really want to take him, and his putter lets him down. And then when he has nothing to play for, he lights it up. So, yeah, either way though, he ends up, and I think in this field too, he can end up in a decent leaderboard position. I'm not going to bet him to outright just because his number's not worth it. And I don't, fully trust him to pull through and actually win, because you're right. He has proven that he's not quite getting there or putting himself in position to actually win come the weekend. But he has been doing enough to get up there towards leaderboard. I digress. I'll come back to that later. But that's the only one I slightly disagree with. Ancer and Simpson, fully on board with you there. All right, so let me get into another player I'm looking at this week, and that's Cameron Young. 24 years old. He's really taken the PGA Tour by storm this year. He's got 2 runner-ups, tied for 3rd in his last start at the RBC Heritage. That was to me, that was a very good result, as he seemed to be kind of falling off a little bit. He missed 2 cuts at the Players and at the Masters, and then he failed to make it out of the group in the Dell Match Play. Those were his 3 previous starts to that RBC Heritage event. So it was good to see him bounce back from that. Before that, though, he had made 6 straight cuts. 5 of them were inside the top 26. So hopefully that tie for 3rd 2 weeks ago is a sign of things to come. He ranks 30th in strokes gained tee to green, 22nd in total strokes gained on tour this year. His real strength is distance, though. And although I mentioned it's probably not a critical number to look at this week, being a shorter course, of course you're going to say it's not going to hurt him either. So it's still an advantage to somewhat. It's just not as much as it could be at another venue. He does rank 6th in birdie average and 19th in scoring average this season. So I like him to play well this week. His number's decent at 41 to 1 to win. So I think there's decent value there. Top 10 is 4 to 1, which I think is decent as well. So I think Cameron Young is going to have a good week if you don't like him on the outrights. I actually didn't look at who he's matched up with, where at DraftKings or Offshore or FanDuel or whatever, but I'm going to take a look at that and see who he's up against there, because I might bet him on a matchup type of a play as well. So Cam Young is a guy I think will do well this week. Andy, your DraftKings darlings. Who are you putting in your roster this week that are very cheap?
Well, DraftKings has Cameron Young against Max Homa. That's a tough one, but love Cameron Young. Cash on him. Yeah, Cash is early play, so I'm a big fan of Cameron Young. He's got a really, really bright future. Going to be around for a long time on the PGA Tour for sure. So, DraftKings darlings. It's weird. I lost my head-to-head lineup, but I actually had a pretty decent week. My opponent had only one person who missed the cut, and they had Rahm in their lineup. So it was one of those where I put up a good score, just happened to go up against somebody that did a little better than me. So 8-3 on the year here. So let's take a look at some of these DraftKings darlings. I got 3 guys that are 7,500 or less that I think are ripe to make the cut. The first is Nate Lashley. He's 7,000 on DraftKings. His last 6 tournaments, he missed the cut at the RBC Heritage, but he has 4 top 20 finishes, 27th at the Valspar. So this guy at 7,000, all we need him to do is make the cut, get us some points on the weekend. I'll start my lineup with Lashley. Adam Long, he's 7,400. He finished 15th and 12th his last 2 events, and he's made the cut in 6 out of 7. So, again, we're just looking for these inexpensive guys that can get us some points on the weekend and maybe sneak up into the top 40 or 30. And Troy Merritt, 7,500. Of course, he's famous for having one of his ribs removed during a surgery. He made the cut in 5 straight tournaments, including a 12th and a 4th in his last 2. So this is more than enough to open up money for some really good options. So my final lineup ends up being Adam Long, Troy Merritt, Nate Lashley, and then I can just add in Matthew Fitzpatrick. I can add in Corey Connors, and I can add in Sepp Straka. 3 guys who are really, really good. One of them could easily win this tournament, but it wouldn't surprise me if 2 of them finished in the top 15, maybe even 3 in the top 20. So that's my final lineup, my best one, and I have very high hopes for this lineup this week.
Listen, you've been very, very good with finding these low-price guys in the daily fantasy to round up your lineup. So I wish you the best of luck there. I'll throw out a stat on Troy Merritt, take it for what it's worth. Maybe it means jack shit, but Troy Merritt ranks number 3 in this field in strokes gained putting on bent grass greens over the past 24 rounds.
Wow.
If that matters. I don't. There you go.
Can't be bad.
Hopefully that helps you. But I mean, number 1 is Zach Johnson. Number 2 is Bo Hostler. So maybe it doesn't mean anything. Number 4 is Rory, though. So he's ahead of Rory in something. So perhaps that's a good omen for you. I don't know. But I listen, the guys that you're, I guess the higher price guys that you put in the lap, Fitzy, Connors, and Straka, my struggle this week is like which 2 of those 3 or one of those 3. I already mentioned Fitzpatrick, but I'm looking at one of the other 2. I probably won't take them both. I don't know which one to take between the other as far as outright goes. So I do like all three of those players. I think they're all have the potential to have a pretty good week this week.
Connors is gonna get a win. Connors is just primed to get a win one of these days. Has to, yes.
And I thought Straka was going to fall off after his win, but he's actually been playing very, very steady. So he may have another one up his belt, up his sleeve rather, come soon too. So I like both of those guys. All right, let's get into our best bets for the week, the last segment of the show, and this one is in complete contradiction from your players to avoid. But listen, you can avoid a player, and I can bet on a player, and we can both still be proven correct, right? So it just depends how you bet them. Rory, to me this week, I see as a decent leaderboard bet. He's top 20 right now. You can get at minus 150, which I think is a decent price. And you mentioned, if he gets off to a bad start, as long as he makes the cut, chances are he's going to move up that leaderboard come the weekend. He's too good not to have one or two good rounds throughout the 4 rounds. He hasn't seemed to put all 4 together, so I don't like him necessarily to win. But I think he can finish top 20 in a field that's not that strong. Ron went wire to wire last week as the fave, so perhaps that's a good omen for Rory this week. He is, of course, the defending champ, albeit it is another venue, but his last round is that 64 that you mentioned at the Masters, so you got to believe he's got some, at least in his head, he's got some good momentum coming into this. And he has, over his last 12 start wide, he has just 2 finishes outside the top 20. And in a field like this, like I said, I just see there's little doubt in my mind that he's going to be on that first or second page of the leaderboard come Sunday. So I like top 20 on Rory at minus 150 right now. Andy, your best bet of the week, who are you looking at?
Fun fact about Rory McIlroy, his favorite chain pizza place is Domino's. We learned that when the mics were on, when he and Justin Thomas were playing in that charity event. And he was telling Justin Thomas that besides his favorite local pubs and local mom and pop places, he just loves Domino's pizza. So,
hang on.
All right.
After that news, after that fact, I just doubled my bet on Rory for this week. Thank you.
Oh, really? All right, I'm going to go to my best bet. So, Nick, over the last few years, I would say Bitcoin, NFTs, and betting against Ricky Fowler have been the most profitable things you could do in your life. And I'm going to do it again this week with Denny McCarthy. This is just a gigantic fade of Ricky Fowler. So McCarthy is 5-2 head-to-head against Fowler this season. He's just playing much better golf right now. Fowler has finished 40th or worse in 10 straight tournaments, including missing 2 cuts in a row. In 2022, he only has 2 rounds better than 70. Fowler is 145th in strokes gained, 157th in greens and regulation, and a dismal 184th in putting. McCarthy has made the cut in 13 out of 14 tournaments. He's better in greens and regulation, putting off the tee. It's one of these, you just kind of fade Ricky Fowler, especially if you got a guy that just makes the cut week in and week out, and that is what McCarthy does. It's minus 140. I get it that it's a little bit juicy, but I'm in no hurry to bet on Ricky Fowler, so I will take Denny McCarthy over Ricky Fowler. It's my best bet this week.
Ricky Fowler, once again, will be playing local qualifiers to see if he can make his way into the U.S. Open, as that was the big story last year. So we'll see how he does with that. But clearly a sign that betting against him is probably good money right now on poor Ricky. Andy, any last thoughts as we end the show for this week?
Well, based on Ricky Fowler's life, I wouldn't call Ricky Fowler poor. I think he said it up pretty nice. But no, it should be a really good week and very, very exciting. I mean, basically from here on for the rest of the season, pretty much every week is going to be a big week for us for tournaments. There's a couple of duds, but for the most part, this is the meat of the season from here until the end when we crown a champion. So make sure you allocate enough for your bankroll. Myself and Nick have been having really good years. So we look forward to keep it up and just looking to crush the rest of the year.
Well said. And that's it. That's the show. That's the Wells Fargo Championship. Reminder that we have the promo code for this week, Wells 20. Save $20 on the package for either Andy or myself, so you can head over to WagerTalk.com to check that out. Outrights, leaderboard, matchups, daily fantasies, whatever either of us have will be in that pack. So again, head over to WagerTalk.com to check that out. Andy, we will be back next week for the AT&T Byron Nelson before the next major. Phil defending his PGA Championship, and he is in the field, so that'll be exciting. I'm sure we'll be talking on that in 2 weeks. As always, guys, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week, and good luck with your bets.
4.
How would you like to bet right alongside your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for the next 40 days for under $5 per day? Well, we have you covered. A 30-day all-access pass is priced at $299, but for a limited time, not only are we discounting the price by $100, but adding on 10 more days of picks for free. So outside of the $100 discount, we are tossing in a free 3-day all-access, a $39 value, and a free 7-day all-access, a $99 value for a combined savings of $238. So to recap, for the next 40 days, you will get all plays across all sports from your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper played during your access, including 5% best bets for under $5 per day. Have an existing all-access pass? No worries, as your 40 days will not begin until your current package expires.